Alice!
I'm not a monster.
Just stand up. Make yourself known, please.
I didn't do anything. Can we sit down somewhere so I can talk about what happened?
Sir, we have a situation.
What?
You should look at Channel 4. Sir, I'm sorry. It just can't wait. Wait.
What happened?
There was someone else in that room.
Someone got in?
No, in him.
In him?
Someone talked through him.
This is Red Moon Role-Playing.
When Anna comes up, I immediately just retract and look down in the floor again. It's very clear that it's Paul and Francis that get some kind of trust, and I just kind of close up again. Just listening.
She looks at you with disgust as you recoil, sneering. You scan the headlines. 7 violent incidents, Croydon clubs, seems to be mostly nightlife related, double murder, sport goods store, shooting on dance floor at XXX. Miranda Michaels, better known under her performer name Moorcock, found dead in Croydon flat. Known male prostitute beaten to death. Police brutality suspected. Routine inspection of health store ends in stabbing of police officer and accidental shooting. Exotic dancer found, victim of acute blood loss.
Miranda?
I don't think this is unrelated. Something is just cutting loose in Croydon. This is last night.
Miss Kitawara, I say as I sort of start looking over the news headlines. Or something is trying to cause a distraction. We just took in a suspect from this area, possibly linked to several individuals, and then suddenly there's lots and lots of things for police to be looking into. But it all apparently seems completely random and nonsensical and unlinked. That is another possibility we need to consider.
They may be random and they may be unlinked and it may be anything, but these are people.
I didn't even notice Francis coming up to us, and as he was standing there looking over my shoulder at these news headlines that I'm flicking through, I'm handing over a few of the papers to you, and I say, Miranda's down. Can't be coincidental. You know what happened. You know why we took him in. Goodness sake, have you put extra security on him?
Of course, I executed the correct protocol. If I'd had my way, he wouldn't even be leaving, but unfortunately, and I sort of give both of you a look, whatever happened at the end of your interrogation has resulted in him needing immediate hospital care. Now, he is subtly being transferred and under guard. Hopefully, we can get him back soon as. Speaking of interrogations, Paul, what happened? Why was Ellis apparently unescorted and you no longer there when all this happened?
The interrogations were concluded. We were finishing up, and I believe Sergeant Ellis, you were just about to bring him back to his cell. Or to his cell.
Could we sit down somewhere that it's not a staircase?
Yeah.
Anna has already opened the door to the conference room and nods you in there. I'll get coffee in there ASAP also, yeah?
Thanks.
Thank you, Anna.
As we go to sit, I'll just comment and say, I understand. From now on, I recommend a new procedure. Everyone leaves interrogations at the same time.
Yes.
No someone having a private conversation or a little last moment.
As I said, we were wrapping up. I was done. I had gotten what I needed from him, and then he started hurting himself, banging his head on the table.
What?
And I tried to stop him. I tried to hinder him from hurting himself. And then I can't explain. He looked at me, and then his voice was different. It wasn't his voice, and his facial expression wasn't his. and he knew the blood, it made me. But then he said something. He said, fuck, what did he say? He said something with that strange voice. Come get me. There you are. Come get me, you fucker, you scum. It was directed at me. Fuck. Then I panicked. I'm sorry. I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to be that monster you think I am. So I just tried to get away. All right.
Acceptable. It's all on camera. The only issue was whatever happened shook Gabe, who Paul will need reassessment. I don't feel they're cut out for this job, to be perfectly honest with you. They had a panic, lost sight of you, and then you apparently were so good at hiding behind some crates that we couldn't find you for a few moments.
What?
Gabe had a little episode. Lost track of Ellis when she, I guess, ran out of the room. And then, well, we locked down, of course, and it just took us a little longer than usual to find her, which was a bit strange, but we found her, so it's all good.
Alright. I have a stony face, and my jaw is working a bit. Where is the tape?
As you slouch down on one of the couches, there's plenty of laptops here in unordered, some open, some not open, together with a debris of endless meetings and half-dried in coffee cups. The feed is easily available on one of the core computers, the tough book with touch screen and rugged rubber keys. Boots up, and you're in the local footage. Yeah, camera 16 is the interrogation room camera, and yeah, there is the footage.
There is sound, I suppose, as well?
Yes.
Sergeant Dunbar, could we speak outside a bit, maybe?
Of course. And I see Ellis coming back into the room. I see Mr. Gilbert sitting there and saying something, and I hesitate and I rewind back. What was that he said? He wanted to help.
Miss Special Agent, whatever your name may be in actuality, I want to help you.
I'm glad.
I'm sorry if I've been uncooperative. I understand it's hard for me to acknowledge that something is not right. I want to tell you everything. I want to.
It's like I pause again. It's like some kind of trigger. Something buried inside.
Yes.
Maybe through some kind of alteration of his psycho. I don't know.
Yeah, and his body language changes immediately from having full success, you seeing Ellis' repartee with the interrogation subject being almost perfect. That's a clear confession. That's the best you can get. That's cooperation. And then that is the body posture of somebody ready to fight.
Yes, well, we are familiar now with the possibility of advanced mental techniques. Obviously, unfortunately, Ellis, you triggered something, and because we were unprepared for it, we were not able to react to it quickly enough. Noted for the future.
Interesting, this. I mean, I've seen the technique firsthand, with you taking control of you, Rupert, and I nod towards Ellis, as if this was just a thing now. But to have it remotely, somehow, was either remotely connected, or that this was something already done to him.
I'm not sure. I didn't have the feeling that he was doing anything to me, but someone else, that was not his voice.
It's possibly post-hypnotic suggestion. To be honest, normally this is something that can be done. Normally it's very difficult, but already I'm assessing that possibly by pheromones.
There's one more thing, and I look a bit ashamed. There's something with his blood. I don't know what, but his blood was tasting. I look down at my hands that still have traces of his blood on them. I didn't. I licked some of it off my fingers. Okay, nothing else. I didn't take anything from him or from the floor. But
I look to you with a strange, kind of blank, but somehow curious look. Did it tell you something?
no, it was just unlike anything else that I tasted. Just this small one. I wanted more. I had to hide, because otherwise I would have gone down back into that room and just crawled to the floor like some kind of beast. I
take my hand off from the keyboard where I was about to hit the play function again, and I lean back in the chair. There's something we haven't talked about. I suppose we're continually sweeping it under the carpet. But you are now officially drinking the blood of people, and that is the only sustenance that you accept.
Yes.
Is this something that, when you do this, do you always get these different experiences? How was it when you drank the blood from the blood bag? Did you feel something? Was it different? Did you feel a connection to the person that it must have come from?
I look super uncomfortable with these questions, but nods, and no, the blood from the bags is dead, unpersonal. It's silent, but other living blood it's different. But this was different. I can't explain how.
Michael?
Looking slightly awkward at these two's conversation, I just quietly add in, looking to Paul, and then Ellis. Keep in mind, Mr. Gilbert was fond of his recreational pleasures. It's quite likely there was still a trace of it in his blood system, perhaps by direct infusion, if you will. You are sampling some of that.
Could you scrape up some of his blood to verify this? If there were indeed substance active in him?
I shall attempt to do so.
Out of pure curiosity, what about Michael? You can see that I'm in a sort of different mind state than I'm usually at as I go about this new line of questioning.
What about him?
What about his blood? Did it also... This was different, this was alive, this was... What could you tell?
It's hard to explain. It's very intense. It's very intense.
Try me.
He's not with you anymore, so it's hard to recall the specifics, but that moment when the last drop was drunk, that will probably stay with you forever. And different, yes. Powerful in another way. Final, absolute. It's hard comparing.
Felt like I knew him. Like I could see glimpses of his memories, his feelings. Like he was mine, in a way. Shit. It's hard to explain, Paula.
And what about the only well, of course there was our own agent.
Yeah. No, he was like Michael, but I was so angry when I did that.
Kitawara opens the door, looks at your emotional face and goes, "Sorry to disturb the therapy session, but we have 8 murders that we believe is in direct connection. Perhaps it's time for a briefing on that?"
Anna, I apologize. Paul, maybe the questions can wait a moment. I do agree that we need to find out what you found out from William and get moving on today.
Yeah, sure.
Primary assessment is that this Michael Gilberts, whose files I have diligently studied, of course, all of these spots are places that he would likely have been at some point. And Miranda Michaels, that is just a dead giveaway. I can report the circumstances to the best of my abilities. This is mostly press reports, but I'm hooked into the local Croydon police reporting net, and I listen to a fair bit of radio banter.
Yes?
This is bad, people.
Wait a minute. I sort of pace a little. Anna, could you just quickly get a status update on where William is right now? Have we got him to the hospital yet? Is he on the way?
Let me find out. She takes out her mobile phone and steps outside the room and makes the call.
Paul, if all these locations are places William likes to frequent, all violent altercations, is it possible someone is looking for William and getting very angry they're not finding him?
Yeah.
What about Nat?
Most likely.
She comes back in. He's en route. So we have station 467 picking him up. So that's going to be in the emergency room, in the staff emergency room. It's somewhere close to Bradhurst or 547.
I want this Nat marked down as our primary suspect. She is she is strongly suspected of having somehow controlled William on the night of the bombing, and with this obsessive behavior that she is showing, along with this trigger buried in her mind.
I believe it's a he, Paul.
Oh, really?
William was a male prostitute that mostly served other men.
You're right, of course. And I rub my forehead. Yes, Nat. He is strongly suspected of having somehow controlled William to plant the bomb, set things up there, and now most likely have then buried this trigger in his mind as well.
Do we have any news on Mr. Gilbert's phone that he threw out of the window? Because there were text messages from this Nat on them, and they met frequently. He was a frequent customer of him. So maybe that is worth checking out?
Yes, we need to find the phone. We need to see if we can... Wasn't someone sent to do that?
Yeah.
Anna looks up from her headlines. You sent the recovery team. The phone, it's in the car on the way here.
Good.
It's Gabe's brother picked it up. It has a password, but it seems to be untampered with.
With this phone, we'll be able to message this Mr. Nat.
Yes.
I find myself thinking, Paul, I give you a look. Our suspect is acting extremely erratically. That might make them easier to, at this point in time, trap, if you get my meaning.
It seems so. There's a lot of passion acts in this. Yes. Good observation. And I turn back to the screen and I say, 5 minutes, I need to watch this to the end.
Help me! I want to help you!
You watch, and there's this... What is that? Investigation plus intelligence with -2, Paul.
Right. That leaves me with 1 die. And it fails.
Yeah, it's just mumbling. It's yeah, he's saying something. It looks like he's got the same body language. He's got the same attitude. He's now fighting to get out of there. He's stretching. That's an escape attempt. He's hurting himself trying to escape. That's what you see. And then he's thrown against the floor with the wall with such violence that he was restrained, but the restraint chain breaks.
Can I also roll investigation?
I mean, you're yeah, I guess Paul could use some help. Yeah.
3.
You see yourself. It's weird seeing yourself like that. There's a second chase in body language. When you give in, when it comes out, he again triggers changing body language. That was something second. That was not the same thing as the first.
He wanted that. He wanted to... He needed to bleed to drag me out.
Now there you are. Come get me.
Some kind of trap.
Come get me, you fucker. You anarch scum.
You hear it clearly this time. Anarch scum.
Paul, this was about me.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too surprised. Alice, we already have to assume that our identities may be compromised on several levels, especially yours. Remember, you did tell us that you'd already made contact with one of the individuals. The black dog, as it were. It's maybe him trying to get to you.
I don't think so. I think this is another party.
The blood was a trigger for me.
Yeah. I think this is someone else. Someone else who wants to get into her head. I think there's a war going on here. People keep talking about being on different sides. I think this is the other side. I think Bavaria and William... Well, I don't know if William is on anyone's side. But I think that's one side. Nat, whoever else, we don't know, is on the other side. Rupert's probably on the same side as Bavaria. They were in the same group, along with the guy that went up in Ash. And I shake my head again and I let the video roll as I see Sergeant Ellis hunched up in the corner. I see
Gabe is looking straight at her.
she's sitting clearly there, and I see even as Ward comes in, he looks over her as well. There's nothing blocking the view.
I frown a little and I say, trying to change the subject. Well, I suppose if you were to theorize, you could argue that the Rudy individual and his terrorist cell are rather radical, but if this condition has been as wide set as it's been described, perhaps you... I wave my hand a little. You have carriers who aren't so radical and prefer to simply maintain their community. Maybe these are the warring groups. A faction war, if you will, or a turf war or something, I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
You seem to think that I was a part of that group.
I think they're trying to get you into one of their sides. It's a recruitment run.
Anarchs.
Anarch.
They're trying to...
Is Kitawara still in the room?
Kitwara is patiently sitting looking down at her computer, looking up now and again.
Anna, I'd like you to run in the database that I've received from our American friends and the general terminology we've collected so far. Could you place Anarch in there? See if that's been mentioned in any other investigation reports so far.
I mean, it's not like the first light list is an email list where I get an instant response or...
I know,
I can go
Anna,
through.
I know.
I go through. Yeah, I'll see if there are any mentions. But in the meanwhile, she throws up on her screen and turns it around. Here are the identities of the 8 dead. Aaron Stone, Jamie George, Alistair King, Robin Hunter, Nancy Hudson, Milo Wilkinson, Everly Baxter, and Alexis Hussein. All dead within the time that we picked up William Gilberts and the rise of the sun.
The rise of the sun.
Yes, the last altercation was 5 minutes before 6. Sunrise. Nothing of the sort has been reported since. During the day.
I'm assuming that these are all, as you said, associates of William Gilbert. All of them, yes?
There's no way to ascertain that, but look at the locations. Here's a sport goods store with high-end limited edition collections. There, the altercation happened at the counter. This is it's a kind of place I would assume he would frequent. Aaron Stone is also in our databases as having been apprehended for soliciting. Okay, we have a shooting on XXX. That's a gay club. It's a famous one. They have fantastic. They have some of the best disco in Croydon. I've been there myself. It's 3 people dead on the dance floor, and this is not a shootout. This is.
I hold up my hand at this point, saying, Anna.
Yes.
Keep your composure. Don't just relay all the information at once. Tell Paul, let's focus on one incident first. More specifically, who is doing the deed? You say there was a shooting. Do we have a shooter, for example?
Yes, Alistair King shot Robin Hunter, and accidentally in the crossfire, Nancy Hudson was injured. In interrogation, one of Robin's friends says that Robin and Alistair were an item, they were a thing, they have been going for 2 years.
And does he have a connection?
It was unknown where he got the hunting rifle from. He must have taken it from his house and had it in the wardrobe, where he collected it and opened fire.
Does he have a connection to William?
We haven't been able to ascertain that yet, but I would assume that... I wouldn't be surprised if he's in that phone.
Do we have any witness report saying what happened at the actual moment of the shooting? What, as in, he came into the club with the gun, shot him?
No, he collected it from the wardrobe, where he had stored a sports bag, saying he was going to go for badminton later.
I raise my hand slightly, waiting for permission to speak.
The room falls silent.
Could we assume that this violent wave will continue when the sun goes down? And how many hours do we have until that?
You see Kitwara's face softening and slowly nodding, looking at you. It's now 15:58. And wait, let me see. Sundown. Sun goes down at 7:42 p.m. So we have just a couple of hours.
Can we bring up a map how these events have been traveling? Is there a clear pattern?
They are all in the Croydon area. Several of them in the vicinity of earlier points of interest, not to mention Blue Vision itself being, or rather the domicile of the owner of Blue Vision being one of the places. They are concentrated around Tamworth Road. That goes up London Road, also stretches almost all the way up past Croydon University Hospital to Thornton Heath.
Miss Anna, would you say in all these cases, again, I apologize for trying to make you summarize, but would you say all of them are incidences of violence, sudden violence, where perpetrators who perhaps have no reason to commit the violence suddenly commit it on each other? For example, you just gave us a case where two people who knew each other, one shot the other. Is that similar in all the other cases?
That is my impression, yes.
Paul, I'm going on a little bit of a limb here, but let's just say that we've just discussed that Mr. William Gilbert possibly had a trigger, or maybe it's possible that the individuals responsible are not committing the acts themselves, but somehow making their people involved with them trigger this violent response via some psychological method.
It's a sort of indirect war, then. You're using pawns. When was the last time you checked in on Javeria?
Javeria is secure.
Yeah, of course, she's secure, but I mean, how has she been recovering? Do you think, has she been more...
There's been no signs. She's been completely dormant for the entire time.
She seemed to know. She seemed to know that something was about to go down. I wonder if there's anything else we can pull out of her. Otherwise, I think the biggest danger right now is Williams himself. Or Gilberts himself.
Yes.
Prey is a hunter. The bait is in danger. Who's the bait? Am I the bait?
No, I believe that was Gilbert.
Yes.
Excuse me. Anna steps outside for a moment, talks to a guard, comes back in and throws a phone on the table. Gilbert's phone.
I look at it. Look, let's pause for a little while. If this was a trap to bring out me, should we hide me or use me? Could we protect me if I would show myself to them? Is that something to drag them out, I mean?
I'm not sure I approve, but I admit there is a logic that if they want you, they will come for you, and if we can turn this around, maybe get one of them. After all, whoever is in charge of all this, Nat or someone else, they are clearly acting on impulse. This is all happening in a 24-hour period. This is not what you do when you're trying to be subtle. There's clearly emotion involved. Perhaps we can use that to our advantage.
Yeah.
I shoot you a very thankful glance.
For what we have, what he said here is I see you, and I don't know if that means that something has been recorded in William himself of our location. I mean, it's not an identifiable building. So...
There you are, he said. Like, my reaction to the blood was the trigger of him seeing me, if you understand what I mean. Or I don't know.
As in...
Come get me, you fucker. He wants me to come after him, of course. It's...
Right.
He will, if this is Nat, he will be prepared for us trying to set him up.
All these events could very well be another trigger just to provoke us, to make us do a sloppy move.
Well, Paul, you're the leader here. I'm happy to attempt further interrogation of our other friend. She might be more receptive now after some time has passed. But we need to be quick, and I think you need to enact a plan soon.
I believe Nat himself, he knows what's in motion. If his number is really in here, in the phone, he will expect a call from us.
Maybe he won't answer until nightfall.
Most likely.
Kituara is already on it, having connected the phone to her machine via custom cable. She's throwing a switch. This shouldn't take long. The tunnel ahead of the car breaks radio signal. The guard loses contact for a moment as halogen lights spill over the windows. William Gilberts is in the back, unconscious, shaking. The bumps from the road makes his body jump up and down. But it's the darkness that opens his eyes. He tries to raise his head, neck stuck in the plastic support, head screwed shut. He's unable to move, looking into the darkness. He whispers, "Faster, faster, faster. Drive into the light. Faster." There, I got it open. 16 missed calls from Nathan Henderson.
Nathan Henderson. Well, that's an obvious one. Very good, thank you. 16 missed calls. This one's really obsessed.
Is there any messages?
There's a bunch.
Let's listen to them.
Let's hear it.
Where are you, love? Are you with him? I haven't seen you for days. What's up? Seriously, if you want to break this off, don't be so professional about it. At least answer me. Do you want my money or not?
And in that vein,
Are you with him? Him. There was another one he talked about, right?
Nathan Henderson seems to be a resident of Crownmore Street, Soho. Not a local. Recently divorced. 52 years of age. Warehouse manager. Drunk and disorderly. Bit of a football hooligan. But that is it.
Paul, if we have an address,
Have an address.
maybe we move now. Like, maybe right now.
I look at the watch again. How long do we have until darkness falls?
1606. Sundown is 1942.
We have a few hours.
You'll have plenty of time.
We should move then. But I would have wanted you to see if you can resuscitate Javier, and if there's anything we could know about this Nathan, she would probably know it. And any warning that we could get, any upper hand we can get at this point is direly needed.
Alright then, I'll...
And I'm already standing up. Yes, get a team together. We're going to, from previous experience, have to injure this party as much as we can. Put them preferably in the similar kind of state as we have Javier. Get this one in as well. Try to avoid incendiary ammunition.
Code Black, outcall, North Soho. Address as follows: to bring. Knockdown procedure. Incendiary backup. High explosive backup. 2 teams. T6, T4. Meet us in the lobby in 12 minutes. Make that 15. She's barking orders into her headset as she moves out through the door into the hallway, half running up the stairwell.
I, on the other hand, immediately get up, get 2 people with me and say, please bring Miss Javeria to the same place as last time. Once again, I'm going to attempt to resuscitate her temporarily.
As you go out, I shout after you into the corridor. Did you mention eye contact? You think that's crucial? For the conditioning of mind control, whatever it is?
I look back and say, let's just try and assume all the things we've learned so far. Try and avoid eye contact with this Nathan. Try and, as you said, take him down if he resists in any way. Be prepared to use physical force. And, yes, just try and get it done quickly.
Paul, can I have a second?
Can we do it on the way?
Yes.
Let's go.
I want my gun back. I think trying to do things like I usually do helps. It's when the other things come out that... so I want my gun back, and I also want a promise from you if I'm gonna follow you on this. If shit gets bad, will you shoot me? Can you promise to shoot me if I'm not useful for this investigation anymore and I turn against you or whatever?
As we're rushing down the corridor and we're dropping in by the sort of supply room, I go over the guns that we have there. A gun or your gun?
Doesn't matter. It's just that...
I take the first that I find, and as I put it in your hand, I look you in the eyes and I say, yes, I will. If I see you acting strangely in any kind of way, I won't hesitate this time.
Thank you.
But stay with me, alright?
Yeah.
We can do this.
I know, I can. But thank you. It means a lot.
As light shines onto William Gilbert's face, he finally relaxes. On the highway, I'm on the way to the hospital. Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. No one can touch me here. It's gonna be good. What the fuck is this? My face. Oh shit. Oh yeah. Maybe a broken boxer nose is gonna look odd. In the driver's seat, the driver picks up the phone. Yes? Yes, sir? No, I have to check with operational... I have to check with Richards to... No, I can't divert to... Alright, put him on. The car goes down towards 472 police station. It's just 2 blocks left. And then it turns right on the 11. Bulleting out in broad daylight towards somewhere else, towards the city, the gleaming skyscrapers, the glittering heights, the unassailable wealth, the power. William Gilberts would later be the subject of several human rights campaigns. His whereabouts are still unknown. It is sometimes quoted as a rare case of judicial murder in the United Kingdom.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the chronicle No Man is an Island for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Our storyteller was Martin Ericsson, and we were also joined by Anna-Karin Linder. The music was created by Lola Zaza, and the sound effects are from the fine folks at freesound.org and Sirenscape. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, and Julia for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. And remember, death is not the end.